morning. Pastor Atkins, pulpit associates, members, and friends. Lazy, good for nothing, aggressive, savage, violent, will never amount to anything. These are all adjectives used to describe and devalue the worth of black men. From the time the first 20 African Americans reached America in 1619 until the present day, our black men have been ridiculed and humiliated. During this month of Black History, we are celebrating our black men using the theme, Strong in the Lord. Our scripture comes from 1 Corinthians 16:13, the NLT version, which reads, "Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong." Throughout this month of Black History, we will highlight strong black men in the Lord and invite you to celebrate our culture and our black men, because our black men are stronger, wiser, and better with the Lord. Today I want to educate you about Alonzo Herndon. Alonzo Franklin Herndon was an African-American entrepreneur who founded and was the first president of the Atlanta Life Insurance Company. Mr. Herndon was born June 26, 1858 into slavery. He grew up on a farm and was the son of a white master, Frank Herndon, and his slave mother, Sophini. At the age of 7, he was sent away by his father with his mother and his grandparents. His mother was now a free slave, but she was now homeless and destitute. Herndon engaged in sharecropping for many years, but he had an entrepreneur spirit. He peddled peanuts, homemade molasses, and axle grease to support his family. As he earned money, he began to put a little money to the side to save. When he was 20 years old, he began learning the barbering trade. He opened his first barber shop in Jonesboro, Georgia. In 1883, he moved to Atlanta and became a barber in a shop owned by another African American.
All right.
After only 6 months, he purchased half interest in that shop. His barbershop business expanded, and by 1904, he earned 3 barbershops. According to the Atlanta Journal, him and his all-black barbering staff, they were known as the best barbers in the South. They even secured an exclusively white clientele of lawyers, judges, politicians, and businessmen. As his earnings grew, Mr. Herndon began to invest in real estate, purchasing more than 100 rental houses, commercial property, and a plantation. At the time of his death in 1927, Herndon's real estate earnings were nearly $325,000. In 1905, he purchased a failing insurance company. The company had only $5,000 in assets when he took it over, but by 1922, they had more than $400,000 in assets. Mr. Herndon was active in a variety of economic and political causes. He was the founding member of Booker T. Washington's National Negro Business League and one of the original members of the W.E.B. Du Bois-led Niagara Movement. He also used his wealth to support the Young Men's Christian Association and the First Congregational Church. Mr. Herndon was known as Atlanta's first black millionaire. Alonzo Frank Herndon did not rise to millionaire status without problems. He endured racism just as any other black person. But he personified the words, "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chancing ride, felt in the days that hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers sighed." Mr. Herndon could be considered a strong black man. There is no doubt that he did not carry the scripture of 1 Corinthians 16:13 with him, which says again, "Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, and be strong." We have fought so hard to be free, but at times it feels like the black man is still enslaved. You can't turn on the TV without seeing horrific images of our own unarmed black men being gunned down, not only by the police, but by one another. Often the black man feels worn down by just existing in a world that constantly labels him as not being good enough. But this month and this year, we challenge you to encourage our black men. Ephesians 4:29 says, the NLT version, do not use foul or abusive language. Let everything you say be good and helpful, so that your words will be an encouragement to those who hear them. There are several strong black men in our church, in our city, and in our nation, and this month we celebrate our black men. Thank you.
I'm clean, but thank you, choir, for ministering to us in a very special way by the way of music. We are truly thankful that the Lord has allowed us to gather on this, the Lord's Day, that we might worship Him in spirit and in truth. I'd like to share with you from one of the historical books of the Bible, 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel chapter 4. 1 Samuel chapter 4. Samuel was an unusual man of God. His birth was the result of his mother praying for a child. And she promised the Lord that if you give me a child, I'll give him back to you. And after Samuel had been born, she done exactly that, and he became a priest and prophet for the nation of Israel. During that particular time, as he grew up as a young man, there was some real painful, sinful practices that was taking place in Israel. And I would like to read one verse of chapter 4 of 1 Samuel, verse 22. It says, "And she said, the glory is departed from Israel, for the ark of God is taken." That is our text. The context will be the first 4 chapters of 1 Samuel. And our subject is, don't let God's glory depart. Don't let his glory depart. Theologically, we teach that God is omnipresent, which simply means that God is everywhere all the time. And his glory doesn't really depart from us, but the reversal is what happens.
Amen.
We depart from him. We depart from him as the adversary tricks us often. And we put ourselves in a position to try to help God out, and actually we take his seat, and some of us put ourselves in a position to take advantage in a sinful way of a situation. Now, this woman that mentioned these words in our text, the Bible does not give her name. She was a married woman and had heard some shocking news. And as a result, she was also pregnant. Labor started, and the baby was born. And she named the baby Ichabod. And I don't know if she gave the baby that name because she mentioned that the Ark of the Covenant had been taken from Israel. But after she named the baby, she died. And so our text is from a dying woman. She was dying from the result of having heard shocking information. You know, sometimes what we hear can really shake us up. And what she heard had shaken her up, but she had heard more than the ark had been taken. So let me kind of tell you this story. We mentioned that the words of our text is from a dying woman due to some mind-troubling experiences and things that she heard and things that she experienced. Her conclusion was that the glory of the Lord has departed. The glory of the Lord has departed. What is the glory of the Lord? The glory of the Lord is the joy of the Lord. The glory of the Lord is when I'm anxious to hear the word of the Lord. The glory of the Lord is when I am inspired by the songs of Zion. The glory of the Lord is when I'm entering into the gates of his church with thanksgiving, to give him praise. So the glory of the Lord is not something that the Lord take away from us, but the Lord will not dwell in unholy vessels. He need to have a kind of reverent place for him to dwell in. Amen. Now, what had happened at this time, this woman that died actually after she had named her baby and had given a word that the glory of God had departed. She was married to a young fellow by the name of Phoenix. And you will find all of that in some of the verses. And her daddy-in-law, Eli, was a high priest. And he was 98 years of age. Right. And Hophni, or Hophni, however that is pronounced, that was her brother-in-law, her husband's brother. Now, as you search out these scriptures that I had mentioned, the two brothers were perhaps Levites. They were taking care of the sacrifices that people would bring to the tent church so that their offering could be given to the Levites or the substitute priests so they could burn the offering up for a sweet smelling offering offered to the Lord. Amen. But these two brothers are mentioned in chapter 2 somewhere that they did not know the Lord. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. And these two brothers, they was taken from the sacrifices the people brought. Amen. They was taking the most valuable parts of the sacrifice, the meat, the sheep. They was taking the tender part there was, and they would leave the worst to be sacrificed to God. In other words, they extracted the best for themselves, and they left the leftovers to be sacrificed in behalf of them for the Lord. And I would imagine that their thoughts was that don't nobody really know nothing about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But those boys even went beyond that. And they had girlfriends that they just went on into the act of sin right in front of the tabernacle door. They had taken matters in their own hands. They no doubt thought since had nothing happened the first few times, they probably concluded that ain't nothing gonna happen.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And so Hophni and Phoenix, who was married to the woman whose testimony I read, they was engaged in this way in front of the church house. And so the Lord had encouraged Samuel to talk to the high priest Eli, tell him about his boys.
Amen. Yes, sir.
And their sinful activity. You know, these boys was being used by the devil. And you know, sometimes the people that are supposed to put others in check, they become quiet and silent and don't want to get involved. And yet at the same time, they are involved because they are wearing the name, or title, or position in the Lord's house. Now, Eli tried a little bit, but it did not work. Let me move on to another thing, and then I'll try to wrap it up a little bit. The Philistines declared war on Israel around the same time. And so the military of Israel thought maybe if we go and get the Ark of the Covenant and bring that here, we'll be able to win the war. God is bigger than the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant just contained particular things that had happened in the history of Israel. One of the main things was the manna that had fallen from heaven to feed the children when they was in the wilderness. A cup of that was in the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was not God. It was an element of God. You know, a lot of folk a few years back were sending more money trying to get a prayer cloth for them to get blessed by. They had avoided the Lord's way. Bring all the tithe to the storehouse, I will open the window and pour you out. They didn't like that.
No, sir.
So they bought some prayer cloths. Thought they could get blessed that way. I would imagine, if you look back, maybe some folk bought horseshoes There was others who bought peas
Yes, sir.
and thought the Lord would bless. The Lord, once that the Lord save us, he wants us to retain him in our minds and in our behavior and in our worship experience. He is not interested in us just appearing in church and that's it.
All right. Come on, sir.
He's not blessing because we wear a cross, or because we carry a Bible, or because we have a prayer call. The Bible speaks in the book of Hebrews, without faith it is impossible to please God. He that cometh to God must believe that God is, that he is a rewarder of them who diligently seek him. So we have the power to retain the glory of God. So if the glory departs from us, it's not because of God, it's because we have departed from God. And so when they took the Ark of the Covenant, thinking that God, now we got some magic. The Philistines overthrew Israel, killed a lot of the men, took the Ark of the Covenant and carried it away. There was no substitute in giving God glory. Pure in heart shall see God. Amen. Book of Hebrews, without faith it's impossible to please God. He that come to God must believe that God is. Amen. That he is a rewarder of them who diligently seek him. So the events that I've already mentioned to you from our text, the wife of Phoenix, one of Eli's sons, died, and before she died, she declared in her words that the glory of the Lord has departed from Israel. All right. Name her baby Ichabod. Mm-hmm. I never heard another mama name a baby with that name. So whether it was the moment of her disgust prior to her dying that she named him that, I don't know. But I do know this, is that when her husband and his brother had became disobedient to God, right there in the midst, in front, the doorway of the tabernacle. Mm-hmm. You know, the adversary will make us think at times, don't nobody know this.
All right.
Amen. So I can get away with it. One getaway creates the belief I can get away again and again and again and again, and eventually it becomes habitual. Before Phoenix's wife died, a messenger had escaped from the war between the Philistines and Israel.
All right.
And when he escaped, he found the high priest Eli, 98 years old, said, Eli, I escaped from the warfare. The covenant has been taken. Both of your boys got killed on the battlefield.
Right. Amen.
A little bit too much for Eli to handle. He fell over backwards from his chair and broke his neck, and he died. Then the message came to the young woman that I have taken my text from. And when she got word that her husband had died, her brother-in-law had died, her father-in-law had died, all happened around in the same time. And the ark of the covenant, almost like your special Bible, had been taken away by the enemy. And when she heard all of that labor pains came and interrupted the 9 months, I would imagine, for the baby to be born. Nature had rung her bell.
All right.
Baby was born. She called him Ichabod and went on and died. Well, how did all of this happen? Well, you see, the adversary, he never tried to take us down all in one stroke.
Right? No, sir.
He tried to get a little bit here, and later on a little bit more disobedient. Later on a little bit more.
All right.
And after a while, it becomes a style, and we justify it.
Yes, sir.
Well, how does it look in a real setting? Well, if I would take our church for an example,
Come on, sir.
I could raise the issue with leaders of our church.
All right. Yes, sir.
Are we more interested in our titles?
Well,
Go ahead and play a little bit. Don't give up on me now. Is it that our title is more valuable than us standing up for the Lord? What is it that causes me to turn a blind eye and a deaf ear to sin and ungodliness that I'm able to comprehend?
all right.
You can't protect yourself if God be for me. Who can be against me? Well, while you're saying all of that, preacher, I'm reiterating what I taught not too long ago. I think every believer needs to stand up and be counted.
All right, sir.
None of us have reached perfection yet.
All right.
Everybody slip up on the banana peel. But our general stand and mindset is that if God be for me, who can be against me?
Amen.
You see, David had lost the glory of the Lord. Create in me, he said, a new heart. Bring me to repentance. Repentance is a turnaround from the ungodliness and to turn towards God. Can I get an amen? Well, not only would the glory of the Lord go, but the nation had became weak.
All right, sir.
And you know, when you are not committed to the Lord, especially leaders,
Right.
the whole body become weak.
Right.
When leaders begin to decline in their commitment to the Lord in tithe and offering, that flows through the whole system. If you can't say amen, say ouch.
Amen.
When the leaders cannot stand up for what's right, others will see that
Amen.
and not stand up for what's right. Well, as the system weakens out, it will eventually be destroyed by Satan.
Yes, sir.
Well, sinful living is disrespect to God.
Right.
Sinful activity, disrespect to God.
Amen.
Hypocrisy, disrespect to God. Not being steadfast and unmovable, disrespect to God.
Amen.
I don't know about you, but when I look back over my life, I've been far from a perfect person.
Right.
But God has blessed me. When I gave my best and slipped up, I had enough mind to ask for forgiveness. And he picked me up and started me off once again. I never act like I had reached perfection. But you see, it's a danger in exemplifying hypocrisy.
Amen. Yes, sir.
If God picks you up before, you ought to get up before you get deeper in a situation.
Yes, sir.
Well, God is able to turn a situation around. God is able to give strength where there is weakness.
Amen.
God is able to be with us when it appears that others have turned against us. God can do what no other power is able to do. I heard him when he said, let your little light shine, that men and women may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Ain't he all right? I know he's all right. Don't try, but just give yourself to the Lord. He knows where we are. He knows what we're dealing with. But he has power to transform our dark yesterdays into future bright tomorrows.
Yeah.
Well, preacher, how do I prevent the glory from departing?
Right.
Yes, sir.
Well, the way to do that is to think about the price that he paid for our salvation. You were not saved because of where you work at. You were not saved because how much money you have in the bank.
Right.
You're not saved because of your education.
Yeah.
You're not saved because of your looks.
Yeah.
You're not saved because of your popularity.
Yeah.
We are saved because God sent his only begotten Son in a world that was running over with ungodliness. God equipped him with the body and made him an example of how one ought to live. After he had exemplified the example, he went to pay our sin price. He went to Calvary to pay for our sin. He shed blood that we might be saved. He died on Calvary. Didn't he die? Yes, he died. But early on a Sunday morning, he got up with all power.
All right. Yes, sir. Oh, yeah.
All power.
All power.
All power. All power in his hands. The blood of Jesus saved a wretch like me. And if God paid that price for my salvation, I ought to be able to stand on truth.
Yes, sir.
I ought to be able to trust him even if I slip up or get knocked down. He'll pick us up, start us on our way.
Yes, sir.
So many churches now having major trouble. The word of God saying, if I be for you, who is big and bold enough to be against you? Nobody.
Nobody.
God does not have special folk in his movement. Everybody is somebody to him. We all was born, have limited lives. We will all die. We will go to heaven hopefully. And if not, we will go to other place. How do I prevent going down? I remember when I was a little boy, about 9, 10 years old, came in my mind after I had left morning worship. What if I die before I can get back here and get saved? I didn't go sit in the chair. I went home and I prayed all that week. I'm just a little boy. That next Sunday I came and sat up real close. And when they set the chairs out, I was the first one in. I don't know what the preacher preached, but I was saved. I was thanking God that he had saved me. Then I had some slipbacks. And in his preparation for me to preach, brought a strong discipline in my life. Very strong. That's why I ain't scared to preach now. But back somebody gonna get upset with you. That's doing good, get upset. Might say a good prayer. And he has taken care of me.
Amen.
All right.
All of these years. So I'm evidence that if you stand up, God will take care of you. You know, it's hypocritical anyway to have a great big title and ain't manning it up.
All right.
Y'all got so quiet on that. Now you can help somebody if you think they ain't manning it up, include me. Let me know, Pastor, you ain't manning it up now. And woman it up too. Why am I preaching a sermon of this nature? I'm about finished. Now, it's that churches are being attacked by demonic spirits. A lot of us don't even believe in the devil. We figure there ain't no such thing. And so he has a field day with our lives. And I'm here to tell you it is a devil. But your humanity cannot handle him. We need help from the Lord. Well, what do? Wait till the Lord give him? No, the Lord wants you to come now so that you can trust him. He wants you to trust him. He wants us to come by faith. He wants us to know him. And he will move in the equations in our life's challenges.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes.
And then he will help us get through the situation.
My Lord. Yes.
I'm fixing to teach, starting sometime in this month, the book of Revelation.
Yes, sir.
And just a couple of things I want to say on that. It's that, and another book I thought was in Revelation, but one of the deacons had looked it up. It speaks about in the last time, lying wonders.
Yes, sir.
Lying wonders. And we have heard and witnessed lying wonders in this impeachment of Donald Trump.
Amen.
Of all that he had done. They had a televised kangaroo court and declared him not guilty. I heard earlier this morning his son-in-law, whose home address is 666, has drawn up a peace contract between people in that region and Israel. Now these are some of the signs of the ending of time. Whether these are the specific signs or not, I don't know. But I watch news. That is because I want to be prepared and want those that I lead to be prepared when he comes. Remember, we walk by faith, not by sight. I don't think God is ready to take nobody home today, but that's his business. But I do know that you can get right with him today. If you are unchurched, unsaved, you can get that dealt with today. And if you have found some difficulty in worshiping and praising him, or you can pray for him to bring the glory back in your life. Come on, choir. Let us all stand. Don't Now may the love of God, grace of our Lord and Savior, Jesus, who is the Christ.
Church, Golden League Baptist Church is a Bible-believing church. It is a church of common and concerned people when everybody is somebody. A church with a vision for ministry and religious education. And I do pray that the Word of God is as important to you as it is to us. For John chapter 1, verse 1 and 2 teaches us that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The same was in the beginning with God. Verse 14 of that same chapter speaks of Christ. It says, and the Word was made flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld